What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to EP09. Alright, so we're going to start this one off with an Arnold Classic update. It is official. HAdi Choopan has landed in the United States of America. After much conversation leading up to the show about whether or not HAdi will actually get his visa, we can confirm he is in Texas, he is with Hadi Rambod, and he will be at the Arnold Classic, Ohio. Now, we've been hearing a lot again this season about athletes having visa issues just getting into the United States. So my understanding is that it was actually an Evagen employee that helped get HAdi into the United States. And that's what I've heard in the past about HAdi actually getting here, you know, seamlessly, a little bit easier than anybody else in the world. I believe he becomes an employee of Evagen Nutrition, so that's how he actually gets here. But regardless of that, we will see the battle between HAdi Choopan and Samson Dauda, and make no mistake, you guys, it is going to be a battle. So with only 3 weeks left to go, HAdi has plenty of time to dial in HAdi. And the updates we have been seeing from HAdi looks like he is going to be at his best. He's upset about losing that 2023 Olympia to Derek Lunsford. He wants this win. He's here very early before the show, so this Arnold Classic just got that much more exciting. We'll stay tuned to see if there's any more updates from HAdi leading up to the show. Alright, next up, we've got an update here from Kerrith Bajjo. Now, Kerrith is currently 14 weeks out from defending his 212 title at the New York Pro, and you know, there was a lot of people that thought that Kerrith could actually defeat Tonio Burton in the Open at last year's New York Pro. And I think that's because Kerrith has a lot of the same attributes that people really like about Tonio. He's big, but he's aesthetic, he has great lines going through the quads, wide back. His overall shape and flow is one thing that really does set him apart from his competition, as well as having that mass. So at 14 weeks out, I mean, Kerrith is really never out of shape. I never see this guy out of shape. Now, one thing that did catch my eye here on some of his recent posts was he actually was tagging Neil Yoda Hill in his updates. So apparently, Kerrith has a new coach in Neil Yoda Hill. This is the same Neil Hill that is currently coaching Rafael Brandao. He's coaching Mike Sommerfeld. He was the coach of Flex Lewis for his reign as the 212 Olympia champion. So this could be a very, very dangerous team here because Kerrith has consistently moved up in the ranks at the Olympia. With a coach with a reputation like Neil Hill in his corner, my guess is that we will see the best Kerrith Bajjo that we have ever seen in 2024. But either way, this is going to be a very exciting season for Kerrith Bajjo. So you guys let me know in the comments below if you think this switch over to working with Neil Hill will be the one thing that can really push Kerrith to even further on that Olympia stage. Alright, next up, we've got an update here from Beef Stew. Now, we've actually got a full round of the mandatory poses here as he begins his prep for the New York Pro as well. Actually, we get everything but the side tricep, but you guys, Beef Stew is currently weighing in here at 280 pounds, and it's looking like his kickoff point for the start of his prep is in an even better place than it was this time last year. So at the start of this prep, he's bigger, he's leaner, and he's more experienced. Not to mention the fact that this is all that Beef Stew does now. He completely went all in on bodybuilding. Now, when it comes to improvements that we're seeing as compared to last year, I think that the arms are looking bigger. The quads look like they're bigger overall. I think that there's more quad sweep. The hamstring drop from the side might be a little bit better, although in these images, it looks like he might be leaning slightly forward, so it actually makes his legs look a little bit smaller. He does have decent width from the front when it comes to the back, but he really still does need to bring up the back when it comes to overall width, when it comes to the overall thickness and detail. That's still the one area that Stuart Sutherland needs to bring up in his physique. But of course, that's only one shot. He's still very aesthetic for a mass monster in bodybuilding, and that is going to serve him very well. I do expect Beef Stew to win a pro show this year, but the question is, which one will he take home? Because he's going up against some absolute monsters of the sport at the New York Pro. But this is only his second season competing in the IFBB, you guys. So to even be considered for a pro show win in your second season really does speak to the potential that he does have. So like I said, he is confirmed for the New York Pro, and we'll see where he places in that lineup and where he may plan on competing in the future. Alright, so next up, like I said, you guys, there are going to be some juggernauts at that New York Pro, and one of them that I believe is confirmed at this point is Carlos Thomas Jr. I think it was actually the Fit Nation podcast where he confirmed that. But look, Carlos has actually been out in Brazil for the last little bit. I think it was the last couple of weeks where he's been preparing for his return in 2024. And he is looking absolutely massive. Just when you think this guy couldn't put on any more size, I mean, it looks like the arms have grown, the shoulders have grown. It's kind of an odd thing, but he actually looks wider across the chest and shoulders when it comes to the most muscular. It's really quite a thing. And you gotta remember, with just a little bit more conditioning at that 2023 Texas Pro, he would have been even further into the conversation for at least second place when it came to that Texas Pro. He took third place behind Hunter Labrada and of course the winner of the 2023 Texas Pro, Andrew Jack. But it looked like that conditioning is going to be one of his priorities. Now, we haven't seen anything from the back from Carlos, and we know that that's one area that he needs to bring up. But just like I said about Beef Stew, that is one shot, you guys. And all of these other shots are extremely impressive. So when it comes to the big names at that New York Pro, you know, is Carlos going to be able to defeat the likes of Nick Walker or Tony O'Burton or Rubiel Mosquera, who is supposed to still be confirmed for New York? And honestly, Carlos has a serious chance against all of those guys. He has the mass in order to compete with Nick Walker, but he can probably beat him on aesthetics. I mean, he can definitely beat Nick Walker on aesthetics. The question will be if he can beat him on conditioning, and he's not going to beat him from the back. For Tony O'Burton, Tony O, I think, will have more aesthetics than Carlos on stage, but Carlos will have an overwhelming amount of mass. Antonio is looking a lot bigger in the updates that we have now as well. So there's a little bit of an unknown factor there. And when it comes to Neckzilla, I think that Carlos can defeat him. Like I said, as long as he can bring that conditioning, because actually this might be one guy that is actually bigger than Neckzilla, and his midsection is much more aesthetic. So the question is, will this be the year that Carlos Thomas Jr. makes it to the Olympia? Because he was really being hyped up last year as not only being an Olympian in 2023, but if you went back and you watched the Olympia TV interview of Carlos before the 2023 Texas Pro, I mean, these guys were talking like Carlos was going to be Mr. Olympia. So you guys let me know if you think this will be the year that Carlos Thomas Jr. makes it to the Olympia, and let me know if you think that he can actually win the New York Pro. Alright, last up, we've got an update here from Hunter Labrada as he continues to work through his off-season. And every time that Hunter actually enters an off-season, he always has a plan on what he wants to work on. You know, last year, it was the midsection. He really wanted to dial that in so it was at least better than what we saw in 2022, because that was his big point of criticism. Now, the one thing that he's been concentrating on this off-season is actually his arm development, which is not something that he's typically criticized on. Last year, Hunter actually, I believe, didn't even have a dedicated arm day in particular. And he does say in some of these recent updates that he does think that his arms have grown, and I think that they actually probably have. The biceps look a little bit bigger. I would say that the triceps look a little bit thicker in the side shots. But a bigger set of arms for Hunter actually probably will give him a little bit more of an illusion of being that much more aesthetic. It'll probably show a little bit more when it comes to aesthetics in the overall X-frame, and it could very well make his waist look a little bit smaller. So I think this was a good strategy for Hunter, but I really hope that he's also continuing to work on that midsection, because that was still the biggest point of contention when it came to his 2023 look. But for a guy that's currently sitting at 286 pounds in his off-season morning weight, this is a very respectable level of conditioning. So I would say overall that Hunter is in a better spot going into the 2024 season this year than he was going into the 2023 season last year. Not just physically, but mentally as well. Hunter was actually pretty shook up after his placing at the 2022 Olympia. In 2023, he definitely bounced back a little bit. So his mindset going into this season is definitely better than it was. So, with off-season improvements continuously being made, and with a more optimistic mindset going into 2024, you guys let me know what you think of these updates of Hunter Labrada. And you guys let me know where you think he might compete in 2024. Will he go back to defend his Tampa Pro title? Will we see him again at the Texas Pro? You guys let me know below. Anyway, that's it for me in this video, you guys. Thank you for tuning into EP09. Be sure to like and subscribe.